Party with your host, Dustin Rybka.
Hello and welcome to Sex Party. I'm your host, Dustin Rybka. With me on the show this week is Goddess Lilith. Goddess Lilith is an internationally renowned, award-winning dominatrix, luxury mistress, and fetish model. She is also a kink educator and author. We are going to get into what it's like to be a dominatrix. What kind of things is she doing in person? What kind of things is she doing online? How they might differ. We're going to talk about her interest in this field, a bit of her origin story, how she got into this work, what it feels like for her to feel the things that she feels while she's in her power as a dominatrix. And we're also going to talk a ton about foot content. Okay, you guys have been asking me about foot content, feet content, posting your feet, making money on your feet. She wrote a book about it. She has all the answers. She's going to lay out everything about feet and how you can do it, and you're going to love it. We also talk about her band. It's rock and roll to the fullest. You guys are going to love Goddess Lilith. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Goddess Lilith.
This week's conversation.
Goddess Lilith, welcome to Sex Party. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Full disclosure, the wonderful Erica Icon at the Rub PR is a mutual friend of ours. We love Erica. Shout out to Erica.
Shout out to Erica. We love you.
Yeah. And we met in Vegas. We all had dinner after the AVNs, which was absolutely insane. So,
oh my gosh.
Full disclosure, we've met in person, and we talked about getting you on the show and whatever, and now we're here. Before we jump into it, how was your AVN experience? Because we're getting varying degrees of like insanity from a lot of people.
Oh my gosh. Well, AVN is always insane. Luckily this year, XBiz happened first because the year prior it was AVN and then XBiz. And XBiz actually I like a little bit better because of the fact that it's industry only mainly, and it's like more like business to business, and you can have those important networking conversations that you need to have to grow as a creator and as a business. So luckily, I was happy that it sort of took that order this year, because usually I want to save my energy when I'm going to both events for the business stuff. And Don't get me wrong, it's cool meeting fans and everything, but it is so exhausting. It takes so much more out of you to be in that loud, noisy environment with just like thousands of people pouring in and out, and camera flashes in your face for 5 days straight. And in between that, of course, I did a lot of collabs because AVN is an event that attracts creators from all over the globe. So you have to take advantage of that. So I spent, oh my goodness, 14 or 15 days straight from the start of AVN to the following week, just collaborating almost every day. I had shoot days like long after AVN as well. Like the day that the Sunday after AVN that we had met at, like that was still only almost halfway through my AVN. I still had, I was still flat out until about, I think it was Thursday. Yeah. So, just back to back collabs, which is great because now I have a whole bunch of content that's going out, and I've got my, my sort of timeline mapped out for all the stuff I'm dropping, and I can just take some time to chill, because I don't know about you, man, but it takes me a solid 2 to 3 weeks to recover from AVN, like every time, like physically, emotionally, like mentally, just all of it. It's just, I need some breathing time after that.
Yeah. That dinner that we were at was like the first thing where there wasn't like a Jack Bauer ticking clock, beep beep, you have to be somewhere, have to defuse a bomb. It was only, and I went when we were done, I was like, oh wait, it's over already. I was like, let's have more chicken finger, anything, because I just was like, this is the first time I felt like it was like some semblance of normalcy, whatever. I loved AVN. That was my first one. I actually we skipped XBiz because everything was on fire, which You know,
Yeah.
I wish we wouldn't have, but we did. At the
We
last
gotta
set.
check it out next year,
Yeah.
or hit up. Honestly, go to XBiz Miami. It is
Oh
so much
yeah.
fun.
We're
So much fun.
we're already booked for Miami.
Yeah, cool. I'll see you there.
Yeah. We're gonna try to do like interviews around the pool and shit. So,
Oh yes, please. Let's link up for sure.
yeah, it'll be a little man on the street bit or whatever, but we'd be like feet in the pool, maybe just hanging
Oh,
out.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully we can link up early in the event because I'm only staying for 2 days because I'm
Okay.
flying to Bucharest halfway through because
Nice.
there's a femdom event in Bucharest like the
Uh-huh.
same week, and I'm like, shit. All right, I
Yeah.
can do both of these. I'm just gonna do both of them, like half of each one. So I'm doing
Yeah. No, that's
XBiz
good.
first, getting to Miami on Sunday. I think I'm flying out Tuesday night. So let's definitely link up by the
Oh
pool.
yeah. Yeah,
For
for sure. Okay, so it's my show. We can go in whatever order. I don't give a fuck. So like whatever. First, I'm gonna ask you like what, and this is before I even have you like go through the normal intro stuff. So deal with it, guys. This is how we're doing it. What? So when you say collabs, right? Because this can mean so many different things, and people don't realize that for the adult industry and adult adjacent or whatever kind of sex work or whatever it is, everyone's in one place at one time, and of course you like that's a huge opportunity for people to like you said, shoot a ton of collabs. But for you specifically, because of what you do is slightly different, right? So like what does a typical collab look like for you?
Normally, it's some combination of myself and a submissive, either professional performer, or like a submissive that I have in real life, like a slave of mine. Or
Mm-hmm.
it's a combination of like maybe me and a couple other DOMs, like it's a group of us. And sometimes if we're lacking a slave, we'll just do sort of POV style stuff, or occasionally I'll have a DOM friend that's a switch,
Mm.
so we can kind of make that work. Like ideally we always like to have a sub around, but you gotta,
Yeah.
it depends on what's on the menu for the day, and obviously sometimes unforeseen things happen, like cancellations. That's a huge problem with collabs. Like lots of times they either just don't happen at all, or they don't happen in the way that you thought they would. Like I've definitely had collab days sort of half ruined because the person didn't show up with current test results and things like
Oh
that.
God,
But
yeah.
you learn how to improvise, you learn how to change things up on the fly, and just do what you can so you're not like wasting a whole day. But
Yeah.
usually my collab days, I try to get a good 4 to 5 scenes depending on kind of everybody's energy level and their vibe. And if it's somebody I've worked with before and we have a good rapport, like we can bang out like 7 to 8 scenes usually. If it's somebody I've just met, usually I like to take a little time to kind of like ease into it, maybe like just chill and talk for a little bit first, and then get to work, and then afterwards kind of like just chill for a little bit after, kind of thing. So that's what my video collabs look like. And I also do a lot of live streaming, and so my live streaming collabs are usually super fun. It can involve any number of girls, or occasionally like we'll have like non-binary folks, or we'll have men, or however, we have different gender identifications all the time that join me on my streams, which is fun. And it depends also too how that's promoted. Sometimes we just do it on the fly, and in which case we just chill and hang out. Sometimes we'll be like eating some chips and salsa, seeing what's going on. If it's me and a couple other DOMs, we'll just sit there talking shit. And consumers love having multi-person things going on. Like they love the idea of multiple women laughing at them or humiliating them, or just watching them do their thing, So, and sometimes it's more of a scripted, like planned out thing that we'll promote for like a month in advance. And it's, okay, we're going to start by doing X, Y, and Z, and then we're going to lead up to like this like squirting cum show or whatever. So that's what those look like. And then finally, my other collabs that I did a couple of during AVN I'm also working on my own podcast series later this year. Right now, I think we talked a little bit about that in Vegas. Right now, I'm waiting until I have 10 episodes ready. Right now, I've got 6. So I was able to get a couple of those interviews done as well during AVN. So all in all, it was a really productive time for me. And I am so proud of myself and my body for like making it through all that and holding it together long enough for me to get all my stuff done and then get extremely sick.
Oh yeah, you guys a post AVN fucking blowout. Yeah, it's like crazy. Everybody
I
had
was
it.
sick. Oh man, I was out of it for close to 3 weeks this time afterwards, because I think in addition to getting sick, just the sheer exhaustion, of
Oh yeah.
I was
Fuck
going
yeah.
almost 3 weeks straight between XBiz, AVN, and then my whole week of collabs afterwards. It was close to
Mhm.
3 weeks. So
Yeah, it's a lot.
I am very thankful to my body for holding up it long enough so I could do what I needed to do. And then it was just like, okay, we're done now. We're turning things off for a good minute.
Yeah. Shout out to whatever vitamins you're on, because those are strong. Yeah.
Yes, I take my multivitamin gummies every day, baby.
Yeah, you got to. You have to. Okay, now that we like fucked everybody up because like we're doing this backwards, because I hate normal. I mean, I'm not talking shit. If you however you run your podcast, podcasters, like do your thing, but I just like to like see what happens. Like, let's throw shit in the air and see where it lands.
Totally.
So now that we have all that, right? Now what I traditionally do in the beginning, let's say, somebody is just waking up from a really long hangover. I don't know, a couple of years. I don't know. They've been in a coma. Maybe they fell asleep at the wheel, operating an amusement park ride. I have no idea, right? But they haven't been in this reality for the last couple of years. They have no idea who I am. They don't care. Who are you, right? And what kind of stuff do you do?
Well, I'm Goddess Lilith. I am a multi-award winning adult industry veteran. I've been doing this since the late 1990s. I make all different types of content. I'm like a multimedia artist. I do clip creation, live camming. I do audio stuff where it's just like clips, hypno stuff, or ASMR. I'm also a musician. I'm a singer in a heavy metal band. And in 2020, I wrote an award-winning ebook on how to become a foot model, because I was getting that question so much during the pandemic, and I'm a pretty well-known foot model in the industry. So in the last couple of years, I've been getting more into sort of the educational side of things to help inspire up-and-coming creators or anyone who wants to become a professional dominatrix. Oh yeah, I forgot that part too. I've been a professional dominatrix since about 2006. I've run multiple dungeons on both the East Coast and the West Coast. And I have also produced many award-winning events. And as well as, speaking of awards, I just put together the very first Femdom Awards in Las Vegas last December. So I'm also an event producer on top of that. See, like, I do so many different things. Like, sometimes I forget myself, like, all the different hats that I wear.
Yeah, well, I can always read it back to you. I have it in front of me. But but yeah, I mean, I think the best, most talented people do, and it's all sort of in that same vein. Like, you're very like, to me, I don't know, I get like and I could be totally wrong. I just get very, and this is one of my favorite bands, but I get like a Black Sabbath energy from you, and I love that.
Oh, thank you. I love Black Sabbath. That's such an awesome compliment. Thank you.
Yeah. Black Sabbath is like my fucking jam.
Yeah, baby. Fairies wear boots.
Yeah.
Leaf, all that good shit.
I grew up to like my parents like cleaning the house with Black Sabbath. Oh, my stepfather would blare Black Sabbath at full volume, and then my mom would be like, Lionel Richie at full volume. So I get both. Like
that's awesome.
It is.
It's a great foundation.
It's for so me, good. Yeah.
My parents, for me, it was Fleetwood Mac and the Doors, and then my older sister, she got me into hair metal. So I was listening to Motley Crue when I was like 5 years old. That was my favorite band when I was a little kid.
That's so awesome. Yeah. Yeah. There's no better band for kids than Motley Crue. Trust me. We love Motley Crue. Okay, so you're a professional dominatrix. We're gonna start with this.
Okay.
And like, we always have noobs that are here, and we love noobs. We love new listeners, new viewers. If we're still on YouTube, they haven't drugged me out to the town square and shot me yet, because censorship is a thing. But we're doing our best to stay within the guidelines. Please leave me alone. But okay, so professional dominatrix. I think people, if you could talk a little bit about what that looks like, just like dominatrix for dummies kind of thing. And also then I have some questions of like what you do, what you don't do kind of thing.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of what people see on TV or things that they read in something like 50 Shades, like there's sort of like, like little fragments of truth in there, but that's not really how things actually are. But
Right.
usually what it looks like is, my clientele is primarily men. I would say 98% of the time. And then the other 2%, it might be like anything from like couples to a female to someone who's trans. But most of the time, it's men of varying different ages, and they're either kind of on the younger side and they're looking to explore, like early 20s, or they're like 50 or older. There's definitely some in between those, but for me anyway, primarily those are the age groups that I get the most of. And then there's like, there's some of my longest sort of slaves that have been around have been 60 or older. My oldest was 72. And so I think that some people think that maybe once you get old or older, like you're not really kinky anymore, you're not into this kind of thing, but that's definitely not true. And, this person that I'm talking about too, he was actually into like heavy pain. So he, I would beat his ass. Like, this is like an old man we're talking about. and he loved it. He begged for more. He would buy me really sadistic toys to use on him. So, it just like everyone is so different. And
Yeah.
I think that something a lot of people don't understand also, there's a huge misconception that a pro dom is going to have sex with the client. I think that a lot of people think that a dominatrix is basically a kinky escort, which, I mean, there are some people who do kind of like, float along the lines of both. And like, I don't judge anybody for doing that. That's just their thing. There are a few doms that will do what's called full service, but for the most part, I would say 95% of pro doms don't do anything sexual at all, much less have sex with their clients. So, I had a couple of curious ex-boyfriends that were like, so what's it like having sex with somebody that old? And I'm like, ew, no, it's not. No, sit down and listen.
Oh God. Yeah.
So, it's not about sex. It's about submission. It's about giving up that control. It's about letting someone else take charge for a while, because a lot of these guys, especially the older ones, they often have professions that are they're very heavy kind of for them. It's a lot of heavy responsibility. I definitely had my share of folks in law enforcement. I had somebody that was like on a judge in one of like the Supreme Court panels or something like that. Yeah, like a Supreme Court judge, I think it was. I can't remember, but he was very well known publicly too. And I was just like, wow, okay. Or just, people who are CEOs and they're in charge all day, every day. And they're just tired of it. They just want somebody else to tell them what to do. And that somebody else happens to be a beautiful, powerful woman. Or, there's all kinds of doms these days. It's not just traditionally in the past, it's mostly been a woman that's a dominatrix, right? But there's male doms now, there's transgender doms. It's anybody who wants to be a dom can be a dom now. But
yeah. No, I mean, I think, and we'll get into the nitty gritty here in a second with these next couple of questions, because I think it's fascinating that, and I think it's important to, that stigma where, because you're right, there are some doms that are full service, right? And that can look like they are having sex with the client or whatever, or also they're like, I'm going to get the terminology all fucked up because this isn't, I mean, what is my area of expertise? I don't know. Talking into a microphone.
Maybe not sex work.
yeah, whatever. Who knows, right? I don't know. I don't think I have one. But I have heard that some doms will like allow the client to get themselves off, like in front of the dominatrix or whatever. So I think like it is important to sort of hash that out and say like whatever. So do you like what kind of stuff are you doing? Are you someone who is not full service for clients? Like your content, like on OnlyFans, loyal fans, like are you doing like are you naked? You said squirting cum show. Is that you squirting on someone? Like lay it out.
Yeah, so I'm kind of old school, and there's a term called CFNM, and that means clothed female, naked male. So that's sort of where I'm at that's on that spectrum. I don't typically remove my clothing. You know, if it's somebody I really like, especially if it's maybe like a webcam show or something as opposed to in person, like, you know, it has been known to happen once in a while. I might remove an article of clothing if they're somebody that I genuinely enjoy and they're a good boy or girl or whomever, and like I feel that they deserve it, and I find them attractive, like, and the vibe is good, stuff like that. But generally, I keep my clothing on, which can range from anything. Or, you know, I can be wearing the skin tight latex and the high heeled boots and the corsets and all of that. But lots of times I'll just dress however I feel comfortable dressing. And, you know, I've noticed that I get a better reception when I wear the things that make me feel cute and comfortable. And, you know, the amount of makeup that I'm wearing right now, just for this podcast, like I don't even wear this much makeup on camera. Like
Right.
when I'm on when I'm doing clips, I'll do like a full makeup look like this. But when I'm on camera, I might throw on some lip gloss, maybe like touch up my brows a little bit, you know, maybe a little bit of eyeshadow. But like I don't even wear makeup on my cam streams, and I do better. I've noticed that when I wear a lot of makeup on webcam, like and I get all dressed up, I put in all of this effort, and then like the money's just not coming in. And I'm like, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah. That tracks so much. So I'm just gonna say that. Like that feels like you being in your truth is what sells. I mean, because people love real, right? And so they want you in the realest form. And I think you come across as like extremely in your power, but also like extremely intelligent. And I think that is that's why they're fucking throwing that money out, you know? Like
Right. I think that you hit the nail on the head, because I do hear that quite a bit. People just come in there like, oh, you don't even need to prove yourself to anybody. You're just naturally dominant, confident, smart. Like, you know, I'm sold. And that's exactly kind of the way I like to live my life, just authentically, and not trying to put on an act or trying to be, you know, over the top or whatever. It takes up so much energy to do that. It's kind of like, you know, I'm a very honest, truthful person too. I'm bluntly honest to a point. And it's kind of like, if you ever want an honest opinion, you can ask me. You might not like it, but I'm going to be honest about it. On the same token, I don't lie about dumb shit. I don't tell lies. You know, it's just like, it's so energetically consuming to have to be able to maintain a lie. You know what I mean? And I feel like if I'm acting that way on live cam, if I'm doing this whole persona and this whole character, it almost kind of feels like a lie to me.
Yeah.
And I've never really done a character or persona. You know, Goddess Lilith is me. Like it's not a character. You know, that's Lilith is my actual name. Like that's just me. So, you know, I've been to things like XBiz conferences and hear panelists, you know, the panelist host saying things like, so what do you guys do to get into character before you perform? You go up, and I'm like, character? What? And then I'll listen to everyone else, and they have their own little ritual. You know, they're like, oh, well, first I put on this and I listen to this music and blah, blah. I'm like, huh? No, I just turn on my fucking camera. I mean, I'm not knocking anybody. You know, if that's what you need to get in your zone, like do it up. But I have never felt the need to do any of that. I've always been very comfortable on stage. Like I'm a natural exhibitionist. I learned this like when I was a teenager, that I just loved attention for whatever reason. I'm very comfortable on stage. And, you know, all the years that I've spent being in a performing band, like same thing, just sort of like the spotlight's on me. People are paying attention to me. Like, I'm gonna fucking be me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's awesome that you can even be honest about that. Like I say all the time, to my girlfriend and also, I don't know, randomly on the show, like I love attention. You know what I mean? Like I just like, and being able, I think, to admit that is kind of like it sort of puts you in a different category, right? Then all of a sudden now it's like, now what? You know what I mean? Like, or whatever. People are like, oh, you're doing all this sex podcasting and you want attention. I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't know. Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, for
some
sure.
of us are meant to be entertainers. Some of us just want to sit back and let somebody else do the thing. And if somebody asked me to sum up my job in one word, I would say I'm an entertainer.
Yeah,
I'm a professional entertainer.
Sure.
I may do this, and that, and this, and this, and this, but all of it is in the realm of entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, entertainment makes the world go round. I mean, truthfully, 100%. Right? It can distract or it can enrich.
Fill
and
the
I
void,
think,
man. We fill voids for people.
Yeah,
not everybody can be that. So we have an important role in life. We have an important job.
Yeah.
Think about what the world would be like without music or without sports. Athletes are also entertainers.
Well, we might find out in a couple of years. Just kidding. Just kidding. They'll never take our Sabbath.
That's right.
Yeah. Rock and roll forever, bitches.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay. Well, like dominant, I think everybody just thinks like whips and chains and whistles and yo-yos and fucking gag balls. And like, are you pegging people? Like whatever, like lay it on me in the dominatrix world, like in person and also like content, like where do we stand on pegging? Are you whipping people? Are you putting like stuff like a gag ball in their mouth? Like what are you doing? What's your favorite kind of stuff to do?
So I'm a bit of a sadist, which means I like people, being in pain for me, whether it's physical pain or emotional pain, or even fear. I used to, when I was in high school, it was funny because I rocked a hairstyle similar to this. And for whatever reason, like people were just afraid of me back then, because I think that back in that time, there were not very many goth people around and they just didn't know what to make of me. They thought I was a Satanist and stuff. And like a lot of people at school just wouldn't talk to me. They were afraid of me. And I loved that. I don't know why, but I loved walking around. I think it was just walking through the hallways, like feeling the power rush, like knowing that I scared people. Yeah. So that was sort of like my early indication of like, ooh, yeah, I like instilling fear into people. So, so as far as like how that manifests physically in a session, I tend to like sessions where I am doing painful things to them. Like I love ball busting. That is one of my favorite things ever. There is nothing quite as therapeutic as just so much fun. I love ball busting. I love trampling. Like friends who also happens to be a very heavy bottom who I've filmed many scenes with, he was really into it and he talked me through it. He was like, okay, like I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this. I trust you and like you're really good at what you do and like let's just try it and see if you like it. And then I think that day I put wow, actually that was really fun. Can we do it again? and so we did. You know, the most needles I've ever been able So I really like stuff like that. Now, in my content, it's a little bit different. I do things in my content that I sort of enjoy, but mostly things that I know are going to sell better. Like I'll do pegging in my content because that sells really well. In real life, it really depends on who the client is or what kind of relationship I have with the sub. You know, if I'm going to peg them or not, because I don't really like dealing with fecal matter. That is not one of my kinks. It really, really disgusts me. And most professional content creators know how to clean out. You know, like they're going to be as clean as they can possibly be. Even in those cases, there's always going to be a little bit of sludge to deal with. But like, you know, you treat it like professionals, you wipe it out, whatever, you keep going the scene, whatever, right? But in a session, it's different because like, you know, they may or may not have cleaned out properly. I've been through many experiences where they did not clean out at all. And, you know, a huge mess everywhere. And I was very upset and very grossed out. So, you know, in my personal life, if I find, you know, someone I find attractive enough, I will do it with them as long as, you know, sometimes I have to walk them through the correct process of cleaning and stuff like that. When you're with someone that you really enjoy, obviously you're willing to put up with, you know, a little bit of shit here and there, shit happens, kind of thing. But yeah, so there's definitely a difference in the type of stuff I do on camera versus the type of stuff that I typically offer most clients. But I will do some of those things with clients if I really like them and I feel that they deserve it. It's kind of a reward for them. Like, you know, foot worship, for example. It's like, that's a really kind of personal thing, like somebody's mouth on my body kind of thing. Like I don't, when I was putting myself through college, I would just sort of almost take whatever sessions I could get because I needed to pay those bills. I just needed to get it done. And, you know, I definitely just saw a lot of gross people that I really, really didn't like. And I got burnt out really fast.
Oh yeah. I can only imagine.
Yeah. So, you know, to anybody out there who's ever curious about doing this type of work, like make sure that you are doing things that you enjoy. Don't just do anything that somebody asks you to do, because the other thing about men is they will push your boundaries. Like you'll say, okay, I will do this, this, and that. And then they ask for all the other things. And they're like, oh, well, can we just do like a little bit of this? Or like, maybe I'll pay you more for this. And it's like, sometimes it's really tempting to take that extra few $100s. And sometimes you might really need it. But trust me, it's not worth it. If you end up hating yourself afterwards, like, you know, you might not even still end up in the industry. Like you might just be like, okay, I'm going to go find a different career, or I'm going to go back to, you know, working as like a bag clerk somewhere. You know, like that one experience could lead you to just, you know, never ever want to do this type of work again. So it's not worth it.
Yeah, for sure. Might be a myth. I don't know. I just heard this, and I guess they kind of like proliferate this idea in movies like 50 Shades and all that shit. But did you have a dom that you were submissive for that taught you to how to be a dom? See, I love that that's your answer. Because I think it's different for everybody, and that's why I'm so glad you're here, because we can show how different it is. I don't think, and this, you know, you would know more than me, obviously, but with anything, I don't think there's one set path into anything. But this is like, you know, if you're going to be as professional as you are, you're going to be as truthful and upfront and like rock and roll as you are, I think you kind of find your own way into it, and you kind of already like, you know, mention it when you're like floating down the hallway and in high school, everyone's like, oh no, don't look at her. And it's like, oh, this feels good. Yeah. This is the power of that. Feels good. Personal question, and you do not have to answer at all, or answer how much of it you want, but like, what turns you on personally? What gets you off? Is it thinking about how much power you have, over people and then you sort of like take that into your personal life, whatever, or like, because I think the dominant space, it's again, it's whatever you make it, right? So I don't necessarily think that just because you enjoy the power of whatever, that then that would also, or maybe it is what gets you off, whatever. But like, what in a personal way, like what sort of does it for you?
Yeah, well, actually, you're right. It sort of starts with just the overall feeling of the power rush, the power exchange that's going on. I find it really hot, especially when someone will come to me who thinks that they're maybe not completely submissive, or they're just a switch, or maybe they're not submissive at all. They're like, "Oh, I'm dominant, I'm an alpha, blah blah blah," and then I make them submit. Then then they just end up completely caving, and that's what really turns me on, is just yeah, I know, I guess my own raw sense of power.
Yeah.
And then of course, like the degree in which they're willing to please me also too has a big part in it. I'm like, okay, cool, well, how far is this one going to go for me, kind of thing. So I love watching people just absolutely jump through hoops for me, and giving them all sorts of just sometimes really off the wall, like insane tasks and commands and stuff, just to fuck with them. And
Yeah.
and when they do it, I'm just like, wow, that's amazing, just seeing that level of devotion and willingness to sort of
Yeah.
try something that is outside of their comfort zone. So that's really what gets me going. And somebody who
Yeah.
just wants to please me so much that that's like the number one priority for them. Because everybody's been with that partner that does not really give a shit very much about you, and they're just looking to like please themselves and stuff. So when
Yeah.
I see somebody really, really, really giving their all, like that's the turn on for me.
Yeah, no, I love that. And thanks for answering that in that way, because
Totally.
that's like, it's important to have that as part of the episode, I think. And first of all, if someone's saying I'm an alpha, they are definitely not an alpha, because
Agreed.
the king doesn't have to call himself a king, like whatever. It's that same mentality, right?
Hmm.
And so there's that. So I'm sure that's fun to twist somebody inside out after they tell you they're an alpha.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And two, like I can relate. Like for me, like I always would get so intrigued and turned on at at the degree at which I could like give someone like weird things to do and say, and they would do it, and I would be like, oh hell
Yes.
yeah. And it's like
Love it.
as I get older, it's just getting worse, or better, I guess you could say, or whatever. Like I'm like, oh, that'd be really crazy if I had tried that. And so I always have those thoughts or whatever. So I totally understand it, and it's so much fun to, I think, just give into that and like really push into that and explore. And my girlfriend and I are like constantly trying things, and it's like, it's a lot of fun. So I think, speaking to both people that might be submissive, also like exploring that, go for it, guys. But being dominant too, like I think, people, they don't know how to like key into that. They're afraid they're going to
Mm,
scare their partner.
yeah.
They're going to, someone's going to come over after the bar, or they're like, what the fuck? But I think most times, I think people, especially nowadays, I feel like people will be more like into it because it is different. I think people are a little bored of like the same missionary bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the direction like porn has taken, you know what I mean, over the last couple of decades, as we've sort of, grown over the years. And it's like it was way different back in the, whenever it started. Like I remember, I think the earliest porn I saw was probably in the 90s at some point. And like, it was very like, it was like poorly lit, and it was always just like, two people. You didn't really, rarely would see like group scenes and stuff like that, and it was frequently missionary, or maybe you see some cowgirl. And just, it was like, it was pretty boring. And then like as time went on, things just got more and more extreme, and now you've
Mhm.
got all kinds of crazy stuff that you can just type into Pornhub, and like it's
Yeah.
there. So I
Yeah.
think that you're right. Like people are just kind of bored and looking for other things to do. And another thing worth mentioning too is your interests change over time. just because you have always identified as one way for, the past like 20 years or whatever, does not mean that you cannot suddenly just sort of shift your your preferences and become interested in something else. There, for example, like, I have always kind of been like, since the beginning of my own kink journey, I experimented early on to see what I was into and what I was not. And I was definitely not into bottoming or being submissive at all for anyone, especially not with bondage or anything like that. I especially hated that. But now in recent years, I'm kind of coming around to the idea of like, well, you know what? Maybe I could bottom now and then for one of my hot dom friends. I haven't done it yet, but I'm warming up to the idea, and I'm like, it wouldn't be that bad to have one of my hot girls just like sit on my face or something, And I have found one arena where I do like to bottom, and that is through hypnosis. It is so much fun to just click, turn off your brain, or have somebody else turn it off for you. I mean, I don't go as far as doing like sexual stuff with people, but if I'm with the right person that I trust, I'm like, sure, like put me under, turn me into a cat or something like that, like something benign like that. So that's something I never ever would have considered when I first started my journey or even knew about. I didn't really learn about the world of erotic hypnosis until about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. And I kind of, dug into it a little bit and discovered that there were meetups and conventions and stuff like that. So I went to one and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Yes, like I'm down to either hypnotize somebody or have somebody hypnotize me. Like, yes. So, that's just one example to say that, don't be afraid to try new things and don't let your ego get in the way of telling you what you really want.
Yeah, well, number one, I feel like that might be an exclusive Goddess Lilith piece of information right there that you just dropped, and who knows what the future holds, right? We won't even attempt to push into that because there's so much.
We'll have a check-in. We can have a check-in.
We'll have a check-in. You're definitely coming back for sure. But I think you did hit on something again because your intelligence is like on display, right? And I could tell like when Gianna and I were talking to you at dinner, like how vastly like curious, but also like you weren't afraid to ask questions about what she did or the podcast or whatever. And I think there's an example of that right now is like you said, don't let your ego like get in the way of exploring something, because I think to be dominant, you have to be confident, sure. But real confidence is recognizing that you actually might like something that's outside of that dominant realm, and you feel confident enough to explore that in time, right? And so, I mean, that's huge, and I think that's something that people once they're like, oh, I'm dominant, like they can't let themselves, try to be anything other than that one thing, and it's sort of like a role reversal, sure, but it's also like a mirror. Like you have to be confident enough to like even think like, okay, maybe, right? And so I think that's a huge point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that, let's jump into the feet stuff, because
feet stuff.
the
Dun,
feet,
dun, dun.
yeah. Maybe my editor could put a little like heavy metal music right here.
Yes, feet stuff with like a big font.
We'll see because she's the best.
The stuff you really want to know.
Yeah.
The feet stuff.
Well, because I get, and you said you do too, but I get this question so much, like around the show from women, but also too like in my personal life since I started doing sex work stuff or whatever, like podcasting and whatnot. And this is the question. I want to do an OnlyFans, right? Or I want to start a whatever, but I just want to show pictures of my feet. Is it possible, right? And I'm like, I don't know. But now you're here and you have this vast, again, knowledge of all sorts of things feet. You're an educator in this space. So take the wheel and lead us to the feet land. I don't know what.
To feet land. All right. Full speed ahead.
Yeah.
All right. So I did write an award-winning ebook on this topic. It is called How I Make Bank as a Foot Model, and it is available on Amazon. You don't need a Kindle to read it. You can just grab it there, or you can get it in different formats on my website, goddesslilith.com. So if you're curious to know exactly the blueprint that you need to do this, I laid it all out for you. So feel free to grab that book. Also, I do go over this topic a bit on my YouTube channel, which is goddess_Lilith, or you can just search for Goddess Lilith Feet on there and it'll come up. The answer is yes and no, right? So yes, it is entirely possible to do it. Is it going to be as easy as everyone seems to think it is going to be? Absolutely fucking not. I mean, unless you are willing to put in years, I mean years of consistent effort, you are not going to see a good return on faceless feet content. If you are serious about trying to be a foot model and you are willing to show your face, it does become a lot easier. Yes. Is it easy though? Still, like, no. There's some days that you are going to make absolutely $0. You're going to make -$dollars because you've got these time wasters in your DMs saying they're going to buy you this or send you that. And sometimes, there's a common scam where like a dude will be like, oh, well, I'll buy something off your wish list for like a set of 12 pictures. And so you do it, and then they just, they cancel it. They'll cancel the order. So, that's a pretty common scam for newbies. There's all kinds of scammers out there for this kind of stuff. And these dudes will sniff you out and they will completely mess with you and ruin your day. So there's a lot of stuff like that you have to deal with. But in general, when you're talking about starting an OnlyFans and or starting a business of selling feet pics, you have to understand that what you're actually talking about is building a brand, building a business, building an empire, building an enterprise. However you want to say it, you have to build to this thing. You cannot just go out there. Like, sure, you can try. You might get lucky. Once in a while, people will get lucky. They'll find like, what's called a whale out there, and it does happen. It's extremely rare. Extremely rare. Don't bank on that. And even if you do happen to get lucky in the beginning, that does not mean it's going to last. So basically, if you're willing to put in consistent effort over time, high quality content, you have to learn how to be a social media manager, or you have to hire someone else to do it for you, and be prepared to put in a lot of hours. You can do it. You can do it without showing your face. Yes. But is it going to actually be worth your time? Honestly, there are so many other side hustles that you could do that are going to make you way more money than trying to be a foot model. That's just it. I'm here. I've been doing this for over 25 years now. Like, it took me that long to get to the point where, I'm very comfortably in my 6-figure business and all that. But like, people think that they can just start and they're going to have a 6-figure year just like that. That is not how it works. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this goes for all sex work, and I think it's becoming clearer, or very clear, however you want to put that, now with just OnlyFans or loyal fans too, and with the feet stuff as well. There's an entire, like you said, you touched on it, there's an entire marketing component. You have to, even if you're faceless, you got to be like really, really on top of those Instagrams. Like, you have to have multiple Instagrams pointing to multiple, like whatever. Right. And it's marketing.
Just to touch on that too, like, you have to be prepared that all the hard work you're doing could just be taken away from you in an instant. Like, your Instagram will get pulled. Like, so that means you actually have to be creating like 2 or 3 Instagrams or TikToks or whatever at once. Do you really have the time for that? Do you have the energy for that? These are serious questions you have to ask yourself, because I myself, I just had my Instagram taken away from me for the 3rd time. This time, I don't think I'm getting it back. I lost over 50,000 followers. I've built that page since, I don't know, 2009 or something like that. it was a huge blow to my business, but you know what? I had to get back on the horse. Luckily, I have a backup account. It's only got a few thousand people on it, but at least I'm not starting from zero. But in a way, I am starting from zero again because I have to repopulate all of that fresh content. I have to just like work extra hard to bring, you know, all the eyeballs back, like to bring all that traffic back. So you're constantly going to be facing roadblocks as well because social media platforms do not like us. So that's a great point that you just mentioned there with the, you know, the multiple pages.
When you get an Instagram like taken away, because I've had this happen to me multiple times. And one time they were taking it away and then they were giving it back and then taking it away and giving it back. Like it was like happening, and I was like, I have to let go of this. Like I'm gonna go crazy. Do you get that feeling like someone like has like stolen like your soul and like ripped it in two? Like you don't belong. You don't belong in this world. Like, do you ever get that personal feeling? Because that's how it feels.
I feel just like I've been robbed. You know, I feel like I have come home and all of my things are gone. You know, like everything I've worked hard for over the years has completely disappeared. And you know, in my case, I know that I've had quite a bit of, shall we say, like over obsessed fans / stalkers over the years that just whatever I do, they're reporting me. Whatever I do, they're reporting me. So wherever I'm at, I know that at some point one of them is going to come along and try to like get my shit shut down. Right. And sometimes all it takes is one report, but normally these types of people will have multiple accounts. So like they'll mass report you. So it's like, it's kind of just a matter of time. And I know that. And I've, you know, this is not the first time I've lost I've lost 3 TikToks. I've had 2 PayPal accounts shut down. I've had 2 Cash Apps shut down. You know, this is definitely not the first time I've had an account taken from me, but you know, and I know that like I can lose that at any time, but that's also like, if you think about, that's the mindset that you have going into your account. When you go to post every day, you're like, is this post going to be the one that gets me taken down today? Yeah. Like, so there's that too, but just that's how I usually feel. Just like, cool. Well, I just have this like kind of like empty feeling. Like, I'm like, well, there goes all my work again. You know, it's like a flood coming through or a hurricane, some natural disaster just coming through, an act of God just sweeping away your life. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I liken it to the feeling that you must hear, like if you were actually a player in Mortal Kombat, like if you were physically there and you just had your ass beat so bad that you were like swaying around and you hear someone go, finish him. Like that's what, and you know, like your heart's about to be ripped out through your teeth or whatever the fuck fatality. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like someone is, you put it perfectly when you said robbed you, but like to me, I'm going to take it a step further because I'm an asshole and just say like, it feels like fucking soul rape. like it just feels like that's mine. Like, what do you do? Well, what did I do wrong? Right. Like, and when YouTube does it, although I probably shouldn't even be saying this, it's like, hey, why is 2 adults talking all of a sudden illegal? And why can't you tell me what we said that triggered the thing? It's like, yo, I mean, it's so, you know, and obviously sex workers get it worse than anyone. And that's just insane. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we touched on like what it felt like and what they could experience or, you know, expect if they're headed into, whether it's, you know, feet modeling or full on sex work or whatever. Cause there is that people do, they see someone like a bad baby or whoever, and they're like, I made $50 million. So that triggers a bunch of people like, well, I could at least make $1,000 but I don't want to show my face. And I'm like, whenever I get that, I'm like, well, it's possible, but it's almost twice as much work. I mean, than not showing your face, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. It feels like a lot.
Yeah. Like everybody loves the idea for some reason, the feet thing, like, you know, as we've been saying this whole time, like for whatever reason, people are really stuck on this feet thing. Like, you know, they're the most viewed videos on my YouTube about, you know, how to do foot stuff or whatever. And it's one of the most frequently searched terms on YouTube. Like, you know, cause you can see like the little like, analytics and you can type in to see what people are searching for and stuff like that. And like, people are always just, and yeah, when people come to me on a individual basis that like just in my DMs, that's the thing they ask about, not like webcamming or being a pro dom or whatever, just just fucking feet pictures. And I'm like, dude, I got so sick of these questions that's why I wrote that book. And I'm just like, all right, well, here you go. Here it is on a silver platter, baby.
Yeah.
It's only $10. Here's all my secrets. Here's your whole step-by-step blueprint. I'm going to hold your hand through this and show you how to do it. And boy, did that fix the problem of me having to field those questions, let me tell you. But
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, everybody loves the idea of just being like, oh yeah, I got feet, super easy. Let me take some pics and like, boom, I've got all this extra cash. It's like, it really doesn't work like that, sweetie.
Well, because it's, to them, they think it's an anonymous thing and they don't have to show who they are. But like the identity of the feet to whom they belong is actually what the ticket to turn on town is.
Bingo.
I don't know where I come up with this shit, but whatever. But you have to do.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, like, you have to do something.
You're selling more than the feet because guys can just go out and find feet anywhere. There's entire forums dedicated to this stuff.
Yeah,
what they're actually buying is the whole package. The mystique. Like, what are you into? Like the whole personality, not just the actual feet.
Yeah.
And there's I think that also people don't understand when they think that they're going to just hop online and sell feet pictures. Like, sure, like every customer starts as sort of a random person, right? But the majority of the content you're selling is going to be coming from your existing customers. You have to build a relationship with your customers and your fans, clients, whatever you want to call them. That is something that you need to know how to do. Like, how good are you at maintaining this type of relationship with them? Do you know how to do that? It's a whole different side of business that you also need to be good at. You're not just like, I think that, sites like these, there's been a few feet selling sites out there, which I recently did a review on my YouTube. Actually, it's my most recent video, was I reviewed all of these sites where you can sell feet pictures. And I think people just think, oh, well, yeah, of course there's sites for that. Like, let's go on and just sell some pics. And like, I got news for you. Like, these sites suck. They're horrible. I did an experiment where I posted every single day for a whole month, like lots of good, high quality content that I was already selling to my regulars for a lot of money. And like, it was not even worth my effort. I hardly made any money. The amount of money that I put into the experiment, because some of these sites require you to buy a subscription, I didn't even make it back. Like, I made more on the YouTube ad revenue for the video than I did wasting my precious time and hours on these fucking sites.
Yeah.
So, I think people think that, oh, I'm just going to snap some pictures and some random guys are going to buy them. Like, no, you're establishing a relationship here. Or if you don't know how to do that over the internet, like, you're never going to be able to make it in this business. And you are talking about a business here.
Yeah, it's a fucking brand. And so people want to buy into your brand. And so you have to represent your brand how you want it to be. And a lot of that is like, how many brands don't have a logo? Like, that's like not very many, right? And it's like people want the experience behind the feet. I mean, anybody could I was gonna say, rent or fucking buy a Quentin Tarantino movie, but then you don't just get the feet there, you're seeing the actor too. So there's that, whatever. Right. Okay, we're getting close to the end, and I want to make sure we talk about your fucking band. So you tell me everything about your band, because I've heard some fucking sick shit. Erica has told me some awesome shit. So, and I've seen some pictures and shit. So tell me like all about your band.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm glad you've heard it and you've checked it out. Our band is called Sorrow Seed, and we have been making music since about 2009. We're pretty extreme heavy metal, I would say. No, it depends on who you ask. Like, if you're talking to like somebody who's really into death metal, they're going to say that we're more on the melodic side. But if you talk to somebody that's like, yeah, man, I love Five Finger Death Punch, like, we're going to be super brutal compared to them. So what I usually tell people is kind of like, if Cradle of Filth and Behemoth had like a bastard child, that's what Sorrow Seed would be. We're melodic black and death metal. And that is a genre that is less popular in this country, but in other countries, like all over Europe, we have a huge fan base over there. Like it's a very like European kind of sound. And so we're definitely planning on some more European tour dates for later this year. We're setting some stuff up in Helsinki, which is like the heavy metal capital of the world. So that's going to be happening this summer. Super excited about that. But yeah, we've done a whole bunch of tours. We've toured America a whole bunch. We've toured up in Canada. We've done the UK before. And so this is going to be our next foray out into Europe later this year. We've got 3 albums, 3 full-length albums, and they're on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Music, all that good stuff. We do have some of our stuff on SoundCloud. You just search for Sorrow Seed. Find us on any of the sites. Like Spotify is probably the easiest, most accessible, I think, that most people have. But we do have some music videos on YouTube. And yeah, I've been singing since I was like 15 years old. I've been singing in metal bands, and this one has just been such a dream come true for me. I was approached by the founder of the band to do vocals back in 2009, and it was the kind of thing that I knew it was going to be a good thing because it just sort of fell into my lap. Like I wasn't going out and looking for, how the best things in life happen when you're not looking for them.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So it was a situation like that. And so, yeah, we've been playing music ever since. It's been an awesome ride. We've seen so many cool parts of the country and so many cool parts of the world. And, the metal community is just like one big family. It's super awesome. I love performing, being on a big stage. Like that's what makes me happy. That's what gives me energy. So it's just been such a wonderful, amazing, life-changing experience.
So you sing, do you play guitar or anything too, or no?
I used to,
yeah.
But I noticed that it was sort of holding me back with my vocals, having to focus on playing an instrument at the same time.
Yeah.
It's very hard. I don't know if you've ever tried, but
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's half your mind's here thinking about what you're doing with your hands. And then, you're trying to deliver a good vocal performance. And I mean, there's, I got to hand it to like people like Dave Mustaine, like he makes it look effortless.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not that coordinated. That man has put in many more hours playing guitar than I have as well. Like, I'm completely self-taught. So maybe if I had more, I guess, like technical skill, like I would have been able to maintain them both. But my vocal delivery is really energetic. Like I really like to get up into people's faces. Like I like to get into the crowd sometimes. I use a wireless microphone. So I like to jump into the crowd sometimes. I like to climb on shit. Like I like to step on dudes sometimes. Like I've trampled guys like at my shows. They'll just present themselves to me and lay on the floor. I'm like, fuck yeah. And I stomp on them with my boots. And during one of our tours, our second tour that we did was called, we were on the Damsels of Darkness tour. And it was an all-female fronted metal tour, which was super fun, whole East Coast tour. And I had a slave at the time that had built me a wooden cross. And he was game to come on tour with us and like help us drive it around the country and set it up at the show. And then like I would either pull him up or like, one of the cute girls in the audience that wanted to come up or whoever wanted to come up on the cross, while we're performing. And I would just be like, whipping the shit out of them on the cross at the same time. So not playing an instrument opened up a lot of other doors in that regard.
Yeah. And I think like sometimes you see people in bands, like they'll play for like 1 or 2 songs and they'll toss that shit back and go back to just singing. Like, that's where I would want to be if I could you don't want to be playing guitar for every song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, no matter what kind of music. Well, that's fucking awesome. I mean, it doesn't get any more rock and roll than fucking rock and roll. Goddess Lilith. Thank you so much for being with me on the show this week. I feel like I could talk to you for like 3 more hours. I think that you're totally fascinating. You have like really, really great, just like how you explain things. Your vibes are fucking awesome. So it's like, I could sit here and do this, whatever. So we're going to have you back,
Absolutely.
Sooner than later. We'll get a hold of Erica, but
Yeah.
Where can people find you? Where can they find like your socials, your book, and also like your YouTube, and also, most importantly, where can they find you online to just like dump out like, buckets of cash all over you?
Yes. So if anybody wants, to do that, to dump out buckets of cash, meet me for a session, buy any of my content. My website is queengoddesslilith.com. And I have a membership site there where you can join and you can send a slave application and you can talk to me personally. I am on Loyal Fans as well, just loyalfans.com/Goddess Lilith. My content library is in both of these places, although you're going to find more of my content library on my site. If you'd like to check out my band, you can go to sorrowseed.com and you can just look for us on, anywhere that you can listen to music. Sorrowseed, it's one word. Find us on socials, follow us. That's where we put out all of our tour notices and stuff like that. As far as my socials, the ones that are currently up are on Twitter and IG. It's at Goddess Lilith 66. I may or may not be shadow banned at the time that you hear this, so you probably have to type it in.
Yeah.
It's spelled Lilith.
Yep.
You can also go to my sort of my funnel site, I guess you could call it, which is just goddesslilith.com, which is where you can find info on just all the sort of various different things that I do. And for my educational stuff, you can find my my private coaching and links to my written materials on goddesslilith.com as well. And you can also find my YouTube channel, which is for basically, I do a lot of education for content creators on there. So you can just search for that goddess_Lilith. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I do appear on Twitch sometimes. I'm Lilith Astaroth on Twitch. You can find me on, most of the cam sites like Chatterbait, MFC, like most of the sites. I'm going to be Goddess Lilith there. I'm on Clips for Sale. I Want Clips, many vids, Goddess Lilith there. I think that's about it for now.
For now. Yeah. There'll be more next time. Well, thank you so much for being with me on the show. It's been awesome. And like I said, we'll have you back like super soon. So
Yay,
awesome.
We'll continue. Thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun.
Of course. Yay. Totally. Talk soon.
Rock on, baby.
Yeah, rock and roll. Huge thank you to my guest, Goddess Lilith, for being with me on the show this week. If you guys are loving guests like Goddess Lilith, make sure you go check out everything she's doing first. Go follow her on all of her social channels. Go buy some content at all the many places you can buy content. Have some fun. Run with it. Explore things. Do it all. If you're loving guests like Goddess Lilith and you want to see her again, you will see her again. She will be back. There will be a follow-up, but you're mainly just loving Sex Party. You're loving the show so much. You want to show some love, some appreciation, some desire for more Sex Party. What can you do? Well, if you're listening to this on platforms like Apple and Spotify, you could leave a rating, you could leave a review, but honestly, fuck it. It's a waste of your time. I'm going to be honest. The one thing that you want to do, it takes 2 seconds, right? Subscribe to the show. I get you as a subscriber. You get a new episode of Sex Party every single goddamn Wednesday, especially if you're subscribed or you think you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts. They've been doing this weird thing where they are unsubscribing people to certain shows for whatever reason. We don't know. So go to Apple Podcasts, go to Sex Party with Dustin Rybka. In the upper right-hand corner, there's going to be a little icon. If you see a check mark, you're good. You see a pause button or an animal face or whatever, tap that button. Drop-down menu will appear. Click on resume downloads, resume subscriptions, one of the two. Boom, you're re-subscribed. If you're watching on YouTube, I love you. I see you. I appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, are you a dominant person who's into more of psychological things or physical things, or are you a submissive who's into psychological things or physical things, or is it a bit of both? Tell me in the comments. Let me know. And remember, you're on YouTube, so censorship is is a thing. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to make sure that you never miss a brand new episode and you want to show some love or some hate, right? What can you do? Well, you could like this video. You could like all the videos. You could leave a comment, positive or negative. I will get back to you. We will go back and forth. We'll have a thing. It'll be fun. Let's do it. But mainly and most importantly, you want to make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you never miss a new episode every single Wednesday. I am always available in the DMs on Instagram, and I will see you all right back here next week.
Thanks for listening. The party continues next week. Click subscribe and let's make this a regular thing. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter @SexPartyFM. Follow Dustin @DustinRybka.